Java class representing a smartphone. Let's begin.
Dangal greetings, Sir Janus. This is our group project creating smartphone. Instruction. In this group research project, you will create a Java class representing a smartphone, simulating some of its functionalities using class fields and methods, and practice constructor overloading to initialize the smartphone object. Your task is to design and implement a smartphone class that simulates the behavior of a smartphone. The smartphone should have attributes and methods to perform action. The more functionalities or more features of the project, the better. A menu-driven program using Java is required to simulate the creation of the smartphone object as well as the way to allow the user to operate the created smartphone object. There should be an option for the user to select on first to allow the user operate created smartphone object. There should be an option for the user select on first run or whenever he repeats the entire program execution to choose which among the constructor available will be used to create the smartphone object. Remember that the program should be dynamic, allowing the user to enter the smartphone details. After successful object creation, the program should allow the user to perform operations on the created smartphone object by selecting among the list of operations in the menu. Whenever this is a exchange in the attribute value involved in such operation, always display the details of the created smartphone object. There should be a way to repeat the creation of the smartphone object performed against its operations. The program will only stop once the user tries to select an exit menu item. Test your program in separate class named main Java that will contain a main method to execute the program.
So, greetings everyone. I'm Carlo Renzi Amchapaya and I'm here to explain my part task fields in our group project. I will try my best to explain it for you to understand it. Okay, so let's start. In this Java code snippet, we have a class named smartphone with several private attributes. Let's go through the lines of codes step by step to explain them. So our code is smartphone, so I'm here to discuss the step by step of our class field. So private, string brand, private, string model, private, double price, private, int battery percentage. So we use a keyword private to access modifier that restrict access to the attributes brand, model, price, battery percentage to within the class smartphone. This means that these attributes can only be accessed and modified by methods within the smartphone class. Attributes. Instance variables. Brand, model, price, and battery percentage are instance variables, also known as attributes or fields of the smartphone class. These variables hold specific information related to a smartphone object, such as its brand, model, price, and battery percentage. So, the data types we use in these codes are string for brand and models, that type which means they can hold sequences of characters text, and double for the price type which can hold decimal values, and especially int battery percentage is of type int which can hold integer values. Variable naming. The variable names follow a camel case name convention where the first letter of each word except the first words is capitalized for readability and adherence to naming convention. Initialization. The attributes are declared but not initialized in the snippet. Initialization, assigning initial values, typically happens in the constructors or methods within the class. Overall, these lines of code define private attributes for the smartphone class, providing a blueprint for the characteristic and properties of smartphone object. However, important to note that these attributes should be properly initialized and utilized within the class for the class to be fully functional.
Hello everyone, my name is Axel John Sarota. I am going to explain the constructor of our code. First is the default constructor. This is the default constructor, which initializes a smartphone object with default values. It sets the brand to unknown, model to unknown, price to 0.0, and battery percentage to 100. Second is the parameterized constructor. This is a parameterized constructor that allows you to initialize a smartphone object with a specific value for brand, model, and price. It sets the brand, model, and price based on the parameters passed to the constructor and set.
In this explanation, we'll delve into the inner working of a set of methods designed to simulate the function of mobile device. These methods name make call, sound text, and take picture. My common action performed by smartphone and provide valuable insight into how much action are simulated in software. Number 1, make a call, string phone number method. This method simulates making a phone call. When you call a method with phone number as a parameter, it prints a message indicating that a call is being made. For example, it might print something like calling phone number. Additionally, it reduces the battery percentage of the device by 5 units. This represents the power consumption associated with making a call. Number 2. Send text, string, phone number, string message. This method simulates sending text message. When called this method with a phone number and message as parameters, it prints a message indicating that a text message is being sent. For example, it might print something like sending text to this phone number or message. It also reduces the battery percentage of the device by 2 units. This account the energy used as sending a text message. Number 3. Take picture. This method simulates taking a picture with the device camera. When you call this method, it prints a message indicating that a picture is being taken. For example, it might print something like taking a picture. Just like the another method, it reduces the battery percentage of the device, but in this case, it reduced by 3 units. These represent the energy consumption by the camera and image processing when capturing a photo.
4. Charge battery method. This method simulates charging the phone's battery by setting the battery percentage to 100. 5. Reduce battery int amount method. This method is a helper method that reduces the battery percentage by specified amount. It checks if the resulting battery percentage is not negative. If so, it reduces the battery percentage. If the resulting percentage is negative, it sets the battery percentage to 0 and prints a low battery message. This method allows you to interact with smartphone object by making calls, sending text, taking pictures, and managing the battery. The constructors provide ways to initialize smartphone object with a default or specific values for brand, models, and price.
Method display details. This is a public method which means it can be accessed outside the smartphone class. Method signature. Public void display details. This indicates the method is public, accessible from the outside the class, does not return any value, and its name display details. Method functionality. The purpose of this method is to display the details of a smartphone. It prints out the smartphone details including brand, model, price, and the battery percentage. Print statements. Print line indicating the following information is about the smartphone. Example, prints the brand of the smartphone, prints the model of the smartphone, prints the price of the smartphone, and prints the battery percentage of the smartphone. Usage of the attributes. The method uses the attributes brand, model, price, and battery percentage of the smartphone class to display the details. It does not modify these attributes, it simply displays their values.
Good day, everyone. And let's proceed to main class and main method that simulate a smartphone simulator program. In this code, we import the scanner class from java.util to allow input from the user. And we use system.out.println to print a welcome message to the console. And then to create a smartphone object and assign it to the variable smartphone. Calls a method create smartphone, then open and close parentheses together with the word scanner inside these parentheses. To continue this program, I call Matthew Simo to explain menu, display, and user interaction.
So greetings everybody. For my part, I will explain the menu display and user interaction. So we enters a loop using a while loop. So if while is equals to true, then it continuously display a menu and wait for the corresponding user input choice. So we call the display menu to display the menu options. And then it reads the user choice using the scanner .nextInt and uses a switch statement to perform actions based on the user choice. Then, depending on the user's choice, it calls appropriate methods on the smartphone object, such as making call, text, and so on. And then the next line is exiting the program. So when the user chooses to exit, which is in case 7, then it exits the program and print the say goodbye message and using the system.exit 0. So the program runs in a loop, allowing the user to interact with the simulated smartphone by selecting options from the menu. So the actions chosen by the user trigger corresponding methods in the smartphone class. So that's all. So for the next part, Mr. Giancarlo Bermas will explain the details. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Giancarlo Ciberma. So, this code defines a method named create smartphone within the main class. Let's get through the code and explain its purpose and functionality. Method create smartphone. This is a private static method, which means it can only be accessed within the main class and it does not depend on a specific instance of the class. First is method signature. Private static smartphone. Create smartphone scanner. This indicates that the method is private, static, not tied to an instant, and returns to a smartphone object and is named create smartphone. It takes a scanner object as a parameter to receive user input. The next is method functionality. The purpose of this method is to create a smartphone object based on user input. It displays options for the user to choose between using the default constructor of the parameterized constructor to create a smartphone object. It then rates the user's choice and prompts the user for additional information, brand, model, and price if needed. And last is and third is print statements. System.out.println select a smartphone constructor, then prints a message asking the user to select a constructor for the smartphone object. System.out.println one default constructor prints an option for the default constructor. A system.out.println two parameterized constructor prints an option for the parameterized constructor. These statements guide the user in selecting a constructor. Thank you.
Input processing, user input processing, in choice equals scanner.nextInt reads an integer from the user representing their choice. So dito, nire-read lang yung in-input na integer ni user. Scanner next line consumes the new line character left in the buffer after reading the integer. So yung scanner next line, it used for reading a line of text na in-input ni user. Creating smartphone object. If the user chooses the parameterized constructor or choice 2, it prompts the user to enter brand, model, and price. It then reads the user input for brand, model, and price using scanner.nextLine and scanner.nextDouble. It creates a new smartphone object using the parameterized constructor with the provided brand, model, and price. If the user chooses the default constructor or choice 1, it creates a new smartphone object using the default constructor, returning the smartphone object. The method returns the created smartphone object whether it was created using the default or parameterized constructor. Usage example. To use this method and create a smartphone object based on user input, you would call it within the main class method.
Journal greetings. This code defines a method named displayMenu. This method is both private and static, limiting its accessibility to within the same class and ensuring it doesn't rely on class instance. Its main purpose is to display user-friendly menu of options. This menu is presented through a series of system out print statements listing various actions that can be taken, simulated smartphone. These actions including make a call, send a text, taking a picture, charging the battery, display smartphone details, creating a new smartphone, and exiting the program. The method concludes by prompting the user to enter their choice. Essentially, displayMenu serves a vital component for the user interaction, providing a clear and structured menu to guide user is interacting with the simulated smartphone program. Thank you.